Good evening, everyone. This is the Bowmen podcast coming at you after a little bit break here through the holiday season. It is what day of the week is it? Wednesday, December
Wednesday.
20th. And we're here recording our holiday special and our season 1 closing episode. So thank everyone out there for their commitment and all their help in making us who we are today and what we've done this year. Just thank you all out there. I can't say thank you enough to everyone listening and what we've done. We got kind of the usual suspects here, minus one. Mr. Cedric is on duty tonight, unfortunately, keeping our streets safe. So hi, Cedric. Don't beat anyone up and come home safe to your wife. Yeah, stay off the news. That's the benefit.
I think I have all the time.
Yeah. So when you're not here, it's a free pass for us to make fun of you. So kudos to that. But Troy is here from Ohio, Mr. Greenlight Outdoors, rocking the new Romano Outdoors hat. So am I. He's got all swagged up when he was out here on his buck hunt. So hello, Troy.
Definitely.
How are you?
Doing good. Yeah. And thanks everybody. It's been a crazy, first year for us. Yeah. From my end too, we want to thank everybody for the support, for the likes, for the follows, for the shares, helping us build this community. And if nothing else, you should get some good laughs out of listening to the stories we have.
Yep.
Oh, heck yeah.
Our number one downloaded podcast is the Groundhog episode.
There we go.
That was episode like 2,
Nice.
either 1, 2, or 3. But it was your Groundhog story episode. So that was the number one downloaded episode right there. That beat out T-Bone, Amy's Animal Art.
Oh man.
So see what happens when you got good, just fun going on. So
yeah.
Kudos to that. We got the broadhead maker himself, Mr. Joshua Miller, there from
How you guys doing?
down the road from Troy in Ohio.
Yeah,
I still find it funny how you guys live so close together, and it took this to bring you together, and then all of a sudden you're neighbors.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, never knew him before, and all of a sudden we're just I think we're best friends, aren't we, Troy? Are we best friends now?
Pretty close. Yeah. Right up there. I mean, I only have like 3 friends. So.
I mean, you didn't. Yeah. That one day we hunted together in the same tree. You didn't stab me in your saddle, so that was good.
No.
It worked out.
It's always
well.
a benefit.
we didn't get in a fight or anything. We just hunted. It was fun. It was a good time. We had a heck of a year, man. Heck of a year.
Yeah. It was
great. It's been an awesome one. Nice background there, Josh. I like it. Looks
thank you. It's your picture.
I was gonna say I know the person who took that picture. Actually,
I have to credit Paul Romano for that picture. Did a great job.
There you go. Yeah, it's been an interesting season. We started off in when did I message you guys and say, hey, we're starting a podcast? Do you want to do it? June, sometime around there, or something like that. And right in the heart of getting ready for season, and we just kind of rolled with it. We really didn't know what we were doing or how we were doing it, and got it done. And here we are. This is episode 25. And we're going to keep it real. We're going to keep doing it. We're lining up guests for next year already. We got slots filling up, which is great. The disappointing thing is we are going to be taking a break here between Christmas and New Year's. So those of you who are wanting more and more, I keep getting messages every day. When's the next cast? It's going to be, it'll be after the new year. But I think after this year, we need to take a break, wrap it up, put all our eggs in a couple different baskets and see how they come out. So we'll take it from there. But Troy was out here, what was it, 2 weeks ago now? Yeah, 2 weeks ago. We had a little bit of a later season bow hunt here in my property in Virginia. And we're going after a nice 11-pointer, probably a high 150s, 11-pointer, 4.5, been around. Followed the script until the minute he pulled in the driveway. And then that went away. Excuse me for all you out there. I got no better word for there. Josh would say a different word.
Hey, sometimes you have to. Sometimes you have to.
I'm sure we'll get into the stories of the hunts, but I think that buck lays and watches. I think he can see your property from wherever he hangs out.
He comes from a different way now. So before you came, up until the day you came, he would come down the trail where I set you up on. Now he comes from the other side of the camera, down the ATV trail. That way. So I don't know where I got him for the first time up on the back hill for the first time ever the other day. And now he's just strolling. It's just crazy how it works.
Yeah. They're so smart.
Do you guys agree? Do you all agree that I've had guys tell me that big bucks will literally watch, see, and avoid a trail camera on purpose? Is that possible?
I've heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
figuring out, not
Yeah.
that that's what it is, obviously, but they figure
Right.
out something they want to avoid. Yeah.
Something funky.
Yeah, and this guy, I mean, he's not avoiding the trail camera by any means. He basically, stands up and waves at it, but the minute he knows something's different. But the long story is we got great video. Troy had a great hunt going on. He bombed into a new place, probably 1,000 yards away, and rattled in a giant. And for here anyway, biggest buckshot on this property on film. Free range, just the way it should be. Saddle hunting, Buzzard Roost saddles up there, and got it done. So hopefully we'll have a full-length video to put up on YouTube here come the new year. We'll be working on that. But just an amazing hunt, man. I mean, I get happy just thinking about it. It was one of those things where it was just like, it was 3 days to hunt, and got down to the last night of the hunt. It was going to rain all the next day, and then where he had to come out was past one of the trail cameras, so one of the trail cameras went off at like 5 o'clock, and I was like, two things either happened: he fell out of the tree, or but he's walking, he's fine, or he shot something. And he had that look on his face like he was ready to get up the hill. So yeah, it was funny. He comes up and he goes, well, 11 pointer is going to live till next year. I was like, what? What do you mean? What happened? Good news is there's a giant 8-pointer down. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That
was awesome.
Awesome hunt.
And you center punch that thing, man. That shot was like, whoo, there.
Yeah, and that's the Buzzard Roost saddles, the prime bows, the practice that we've put in all year. I mean, it's just crazy, because I knew going into that morning, I had the mindset of, I'm going to stay in the tree as long as I can all day, because there's only, the way that to picture for everyone listening, I mean, it's essentially a valley running north and south, and we're hunting down in the bottom of it along a creek, and there was only a couple access ways for the deer. I mean, they weren't going to come through the laurels on, say, the west side of the valley, because it's super thick, super steep, and then the other side was essentially homes a ways away, a couple hundred yards away, but it was a good natural funnel. And then where I ended up moving to was where a couple creeks came together. And it's just, as a deer hunter, experience over the years and everything else, you get to a spot like that and you're like, this is it. There will be deer here at some point, and it's just a matter of time. And yeah, thankfully I was able to get a good tree, climb it, and of course, I sat there. By the time the shot went off, I wasn't in the single tree, but I was in a tree for almost 10 hours that day by the time I shot, and thankfully your wife made an awesome sandwich for lunch. Got a video of that, and met some of your neighbors. They came strolling through, checking the land, doing something.
I don't know what the hell they were doing.
It was professional and friendly, like we always say. That's all you can do, is just be professional and friendly. And they were just trying to make sure I was supposed to be there, and which is good. So, but no, it all worked out, and threw a Hail Mary rattling there. It's pretty late in the season to be rattling, but they get curious whether they really want to come fight or not. And in the video, you can see he is just looking. The only reason he came down the hill at that time was to look and see who was fighting.
His neck was all bristled up in the back.
Oh, yeah. And he came down. It took him on film 5 minutes from when I got him started on film to get down to within 40 yards was about a 5-minute stroll. And everybody knows this hunting, that 5 minutes is an eternity. And then he picked me out of the tree at one point and stared at me for a couple minutes, which is also an eternity.
Unnerving.
But yeah, it worked out. Of course, he didn't come exactly where I wanted him to. As you set up, as a right-handed shooter, I set up to shoot on the left side of the tree, and I had that all wide open. And of course, he came on the right side of the tree, and there was one little opening, and I'm twisted around. And in the video, especially the unedited video, you can hear I end up hitting the camera arm with my bow when I went to draw, and there's a nice loud tink, and then he looks right at me, because at that point he was 33 yards away. But thankfully, at that point, all of us kind of revert just to muscle memory. It just find my anchor point. I knew I only had a second or two and let her rip. So
and you 10 ringed it too, man, and barely went 30 yards and fell over on film. And that cut great.
Josh will probably talk a little bit about it throughout the podcast, but I was shooting Triple Point Outdoors Clovis Cut Plus, and that just, it's a laser beam. Those broadheads shoot better than field points, in my opinion. And I don't know if there's a way to statistically prove it, but they definitely do. And it ate for sure. It just zipped caught into the opposite front leg was the only reason it wasn't on the ground. And he didn't go 30 yards. Piled up. I could see him from the tree. That's awesome. Then the shaking begins, and the
it's great.
Super cool feeling.
Yeah, it would have been a complete pass through, but it looked like his back leg was like right where it came out, and it like center punched that leg bone, like
Yeah.
right in there, and it was
Perfect
just
hit
stuck right in
bone.
there.
Stuck in it.
But it's went through the brisket completely, and just like no blood trail necessary. It was just blood
awesome.
everywhere, and then there he is. So
Yeah, he had only took 3 or 4 long bounds. He crossed the creek while he did it, but he 3 or 4 long jumps across the creek and then piled
Did.
up. So
That's great. That's great.
Then he had to go all Cam Haines on us and carry a 165-pound deer out. I still don't know how much that little blacktail that Cam Haines carried out weighed, but this had to be every bit of 165 pounds.
If anyone
Jeez.
listening to this, might know him, tag him, email him something. We just, we're not looking to compare or argue. We just want some feedback. I just want some feedback.
Troy has a proper carrying technique.
Cam. Yeah. Yep. And not nearly the leg muscles that Cam has either. So
no, he's
a beast.
I should have put on some little shorts or something.
Yeah. My daughter was there. You couldn't have done that.
We were on a time frame. Yeah. So.
Yeah. By the time we got to him, it was dark and we had to cross a couple creeks, and he's just like, I looked at him, I'm like, are you gonna Cameron Haines this? Joking, of course. And he's like, dude, I was totally thinking of it. I'm like, all right, well, let's do it.
Well,
that's crazy.
I just had another birthday recently, and I don't know, honestly, as heavy and hard as that was better than dragging that deer.
It would have been a nightmare.
Our backs trying to drag that deer. So
yeah.
I get that.
Who pulls harder than who? And literally it had to be 1,000 yards. We had to go. And we didn't even go the 200 yards up the mountain to get out of there. I brought the 4-wheeler down. We strapped it on the 4-wheeler and brought it out. But
gotcha.
I would have gave you even more props if you would have went up the mountain with him on your back.
By the you were behind me directing, and by the end, it was no more direct. I was just
the last 15 yards, I think his eyes were closed. I was like, go left.
Just go
left. Don't go through the thick stuff. Go. No, your other left.
He was to the point where, I was just going. There was a few more moments of me holding that thing up on my back, and I just wanted to find a trail. So
yeah.
I'll tell you what, Troy, you've had some serious drags this year because you helped me drag my buck out, and that was absolute. I'm sorry, that was absolute hell. Like we went through
Cam Haines that one.
Yeah. No, you should have, but like they're multi-flora, 4 feet high, solid. You and I just went straight through it. It was atrocious. It was bad.
Still need to email Element Outdoors and get a good claim going for my pants after that drag through the brush.
Oh man, talk about rough. Yeah, I've never had a rougher drag out than that.
Well, that, and then when my cousin was up here hunting, we dragged. He had a doe, and we drug her out, which it wasn't terrible, but it was muddy. So it was like every step just got worse. And then your hip start to hurt.
I could definitely tell him getting pretty easy.
Yeah.
That's true. We were downhill doing about 80. Troy and I were barely pulling.
Downhill. Yeah, that was nice.
It was frost on the ground. It slid like a bean.
Like a sled. You just ride it down.
It's all about
the easiest.
When you shoot, you have to know, you have to plan the recovery part.
Now, wait a minute, Paul. You got a problem here. We got a problem. We're going to talk about this.
What?
Why does Paul get the easy drag outs? He shoots a giant moose, an Argo comes in. He's riding the Argo, okay? Then he's got to skate down the hill with his whitetail. Like, why is he ever getting hard to drag out? Smart man.
I guess that,
my son's buck, I picked it up out of the creek and put it on the 4-wheeler and drove out. Let me see. I think because I've had too many bad. So I grew up in like middle state New York in the swamps, and you haven't lived until you've drug a 300+ pound black bear out of a swamp. And it's like kind of like when we were in moose country up there in Newfoundland, where you have like those big like balls of like hard, and then you step down and all of a sudden you're up to your waist in water.
Nothing. Yeah.
And so like if you miss, you're kind of screwed. So that was, I think I've did too many of those in my life, and knocked on wood, someone was watching over me. So I think my grandfather did too many of those in his life, and he passed away 2 years ago. So he was
there you go.
He was going, I got you, buddy.
Helping guide.
Yeah. Next year his sarcasm will come out, and it's gonna be bad.
Even that buck I shot at your place, Paul, it could have ran, and it was facing the right way to run towards your property after the shot, and it wheeled around and ran the wrong way across the creek.
Yeah,
that's always fun.
I think completely that buck knew not to go the other way because of that other deer that was there.
Right.
Because if you look like 200 yards to the right of where you were, there's just a line of rubs and scrapes going up that hill, like, like just a swooping pattern. So I think that's like the boundary of that buck's property between those two. And he was living there. Obviously, he was bedded in there. Like, he didn't come there for no reason. He wasn't shagging does. There were no does around. Like, he just lived in there. And no video of that, no trail camera of that buck, nothing.
That's crazy.
That's what made it even better. It was a bonus buck. Like, I was like, all right, which buck is it? This, and this. And then we looked at him. I was like, I have no idea who that is. That's the best part.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That made it that much, more special, if you will, as a hunter,
Yeah, absolutely.
To go in and get one that had essentially pattern, which it's amazing if you can pattern a deer because they're so dang smart. And even when you think you have them patterned, to get a different one it's fun. Special.
And I think it brings it back to, I know, like me growing up is before trail cameras and all that, like, you just went in the woods. Like, it was hunting season, you were excited, you were stoked, you went in the woods, and the whole time you're sitting there, and you said it the whole time, Troy, all it takes is 2 seconds.
Yeah,
out of a whole week hunt and all those hours in the saddle, 10 hours a day, it just takes 2 seconds to make something happen. And that's kind of the magic of it. Like, I totally respect and totally get, and I do it, patterning bucks on trail cameras, trying to find where they come from and where they live. And, that's the chess match. Like, that's fun. But to sit there and have something that you have no idea about come out, like, that's just special,
For sure.
Yep, we can all, I mean, and I've made some posts and stuff about it, but that, days and months and even years in the making for those few seconds, and everything, even when he finally came into range, I ranged him and I had a spot picked out at 40 yards, and I was like, I could try and shoot that 40-yard spot, but the way he was acting and looking, and as a hunter, I'm like, he's coming. He's still coming. He's still looking at me. He's still intrigued at the noise that I had made when I was rattling. So in my mind, I'm like, he's going to keep coming. I've had enough experience and seen him do enough. But then as soon as he turned and made his decision not to cross the creek, I'm like, oh no. Oh no.
Yeah.
This whole thing could fall apart, in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
And that's when I picked the next spot, I said, okay, if he gets to this spot, and I ranged it, it was 33 yards. I had a little opening, and I had talked about it a little bit earlier, but I had set up for a shot on my left-hand side. I had to bring the bow across my bridge. So now I'm twisted in the tree. That was the side I had my camera on because it was out of the way previously for how I set up, but now it's in the way. So, I ranged real quick, came to full draw, hit my camera. I was like, oh no, settled the pin and sent it. That was just a matter of seconds, a few seconds. And it's still all had to be perfect, in those few seconds. It's not, nothing's guaranteed. We've even, unfortunately, sometimes even after you shoot the animals, it's not a guarantee. It's still archery. There's things can still happen. So
absolutely. And I mean, I've been excited for a lot of things. I don't think I've ever been as excited as I was for you in that hunt. And I know Josh knows the feeling, like, when you become that outfitter, when you become that one that is like setting up and making meals and housing and trying to find bucks and trying to make the decision to put you in the right place. And like, we even went out and put trail cameras on a new part of the property. And like, we had a whole plan, like, go in this tree at this time, go in that tree at this time. And then, me and my son were out on the back deck at like 4:50, like waiting, and like, just standing out there, just nervous as hell, staring at each other. Like, for it to come together is just pretty amazing. But question that I get a lot from the video or the little clip that you posted and all that was, what did your rattling sequence look like before that? I mean, I'm not a big rattler. I haven't really done much of it, and I always feel like I'm just effing it up when I do that. So like, how long was it? Like, what's your technique? Like, what does that look like?
When I rattle, and it sounds cliche because I've read, like, I've looked up a lot of Field and Stream articles and a lot of just magazine clips, or at work, if I have some downtime during a lunch break. But rattling, to me, like that, I love it. I love calling. I get bored just sitting there, and I feel like, in my experience, rattling, I've never been able to visually see a buck and rattle and scare them away. Sometimes they won't react, just like grunting or anything else. Sometimes they won't do anything. They might just kind of look. I personally, and I'm sure everybody has other experiences, but I personally have never scared one away rattling. So I kind of feel like it's not a lose situation. They're either going to come or they're going to ignore me. And I've read a ton of stories and articles where it intrigues them. Even if they don't want to fight, it'll intrigue them, and they'll kind of wonder what's going on or who's in their territory, what the deal is, because they're social animals.
It's like a schoolhouse fight. You know what I'm saying? It's like a school fight. Everybody gather around, get the video out and watch it,
So, and the way I rattle, it's just like you would imagine. I try and picture from videos or whatever, 2 bucks fighting, but I rattle, and it sounds cliche, but I'll start like light, like tapping the tips of the horns and just gently rattling, kind of like they're kind of working into who's boss and who's tougher. And then I'll rattle for a few, like maybe a minute, and I'll stop for a good 20, 30 seconds, just like deer whitetails do. They'll stop and they'll look at each other. They might smell something, whatever. Then I'll build up again. I'll rattle harder. And like this, it was late in the season. And as the season kind of progresses, like say I'm rattling September, it's light the whole time because they're just feeling each other out. They're not really fighting yet.
Mhm.
And then say November comes and I know the rut's happening, especially here in Ohio, I'll slam them together. Like I'll build up like that, but I'll really slam the racks. Like 2 bucks are just pushing each other around. Maybe there's a hot doe. You know, you got to think of all those images in your head that they're fighting over a hot doe or whatever the case may be. And then this scenario, it was more of like a feeling out again. I kind of went back to what I would do in say September, early season. It was lightly rattling the tips of the horns here and there, stop every once in a while. If I would hear like a noise, say a car or a noise, like an unnatural woods noise, I'll stop rattling just like I would imagine the bucks would do. I'll stop rattling for 30, 40 seconds, and then I'll pick it back up again as they get interested again. And that sequence was, I rattled almost 7 minutes, 6 or 7 minutes long.
Wow,
and the whole time I was looking, obviously, because you have to watch, because as soon as you see them, you got to quit, because they're so good at pinpointing where the noise came from. They'll pick you out of the tree no matter how camouflaged you are. And I've had them literally come running through the woods as I'm rattling. I have to throw the racks down and try and shoot. But so I'm watching the whole time, taking breaks, looking around. And where he came out of, up on a ridge, I had looked at that spot 10 times during the sequence, just glancing over, you know, and seeing it. And I'm not kidding. I had it recorded on my phone, and I looked down and it was almost 7 minutes by the time I'm like, okay, that's a long one. Normally I try and do 3 to 5 minutes. I try and get them intrigued, and I try and make noise long enough that they'll come, but not long enough that they're going to be in my lap before I realize what's going on. So like 3 to 5 minutes is usually like a normal rattling sequence, but I went every bit of almost 7 minutes this time. And no joke, as I'm setting those antlers down, I'm looking at my bag, setting the antlers down, and I looked up and he was standing on the ridge looking down into the valley. So I don't know if he had been a ways away and came through, there was pine trees up there, and came through the pines and I just saw him, or if I finally rattled long enough and he was bedded down up there that he finally stood up.
Yeah.
But it could have been either one, you know. And I would venture to say he probably stood up. He's probably bedded right there, and I rattled long enough that it intrigued him, and he finally stood up. And then once he stood up, he was coming. I mean, he worked his way down the hill, smelling, looking, bristled up, and you know, he was intrigued. But it's just one of those things, you have to do it and not be afraid to scare the deer away. Because like I said, I mean, in my experience, you know, and I'm sure there's rare cases where they might run away, and I have had small bucks that won't come in because they don't want to get beat up. You know, like a little 4-point or a little spike or something. They don't necessarily run away, but they probably won't come to a rattle, especially if they've been beat up before by a buck in the area.
Yep.
And I had an old timer, you know, tell me I had a nice 8-point, was hunting one time, and the 8-point came to say 60, 70 yards and just circled me in the woods, just all the way around me. You know, I'm like, I couldn't get him come in. I grunted at him. I snort wheezed. I had been rattling. That was what brought him initially. And the guy that owned the property said, well, there's a bigger buck in there. You know, he said, just think of it. If you were him and you'd been beat up, would you come to the bully? You know, like, no, come and look.
No, heck no.
You know, he's going to come and look.
I would just want to watch from afar.
Yeah. But he said, I would keep hunting there because there's a bigger buck in there, you know. And so that's kind of my mindset. I mean, I love rattling and trying, but say everybody just do it. Get a little timer, your phone, whatever. 3 to 5 minutes is like a normal sequence for me. And then every once in a while, I'll go a little bit longer, but you got to be ready. Like before you start rattling, picture in your head, if that buck appears at 20 yards, what you're going to do, because sometimes they come and they're looking for a fight, and you've only got the 2 seconds to react. So
I agree with all that. I agree with all of it. Don't you think too, Troy, like a lot of the intonation you're doing in the tree stand is geographic, specific to the terrain? You know, like I know for me personally, if I'm grunting or I'm gonna do a rattle sequence and I do something different than you, I use the rattle bag. I don't use black rack. I have a rattle bag. Personally, I like the compactness of it. I like it in a small volume. I like not lack of motion. You know, you talk about bucks picking out. But what I do is, like, when I do calling, I'm never afraid to call. I'm like you. I'm never gonna be afraid to call, because what do you have to lose, right? Unless there's a buck I have visual sight of that I am worried about. You know, then I'll watch body language. But for me, I'll call, and like if there's a valley I'm in or on top of a hill, I might call a little harder. I might want to reach a bedding area. So it depends for me highly on where I'm hunting. That's how I'm going to call.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And just the location, if you think you're close to a bedding area, it might change as opposed to, it's just a pinch point. If it's just travel corridor, I might call every 30, 45 minutes because something could have came within earshot in that time. But if I feel like I'm right outside of a bedding area, I might only do it once an hour, just because if something's in there and they didn't react the first time, if I do it too much, then they're just going to go away. They're gonna realize it's not real. They're gonna think something's up. So just like that, if there's a lot of spots here in Ohio that are strictly like movement corridors that I hunt, and I'll call every 25, 30 minutes just because I know something could have moved in within earshot in that time, and I don't want it to go by without coming close. So
and the advantage here is, we have some giant deer in Virginia here. I think we're a little bit of a sleeper state, but a couple 100 acres we have to hunt here, me and the neighbor have sole access to, and no one's rattling. So for a buck of that caliber to hear rattling, hell yeah, he's going to come in and check it out. He's not worried that it's going to be a person, or, we say it a lot during elk season, they get call shy because they've been called to every other day. It goes for bucks too in high pressure situations. So, kudos to you in that approach there. That was just simply amazing. So
that's fun. That's what we do.
And he went old school. He had real antlers on this trip.
Yeah,
cool.
Left,
cool.
Yeah, I forgot my
okay.
There's a handful of things that we try and pack everything we think we'll need, and of course I left it sitting here. That black rack.
Yeah.
He came through in the clutch and had a set of
that's cool
antlers, old school.
I know the one thing I've always had that kind of seems for me to go negative is I think it's probably the most aggressive call whitetail will do to each other, and that's the snort wheeze. I have had deer where, it was a last resort by me. And for me, the light grunts first, then I'll go into rattling sequence because I can carry a little further and see what pulls in, right? And let them by bedding or whatever. But then the last resort is if I see a deer off in the distance and I can't get them through running or rattling, I'll do a snort wheeze. I'll just, I'll see what gets attention and see them pull them in. But 90% of the time, usually I've seen bucks not like it because it's almost like the aggressive, like, hey, come beat me up, let's go, and sometimes they don't like it.
Well, there's got to be a giant mature buck in the area, maybe not even giant antler size, like body size, age class, for them to react to a snort wheeze, and that one that you're snort wheezing at needs to be aggressive and on edge. It's got to be the right time, the right scenario. I've had little 6-pointers come into snort wheeze just because they were
fired up.
New York, they're fired up, and that's the biggest thing in the area. They're beating up all the little spikes, but for me, it's hard whitetail hunting and calling for me because of where I grew up and how I hunted. Like, there just wasn't a lot of bucks back in the 80s and 90s, and you sat there quiet and hoped for the best to come by, and a spike would come by or a 4-corn or something like that. So to go out and hunt places where you can grunt and rattle and thrash trees and all this, and they come in like looking for a fight, for me is just like, holy shit, like like I'm gonna scare everything away. I got squirrels that make more noise than that here. Like,
right. You do. Yeah. I think it all probably triggered from learning to like turkey hunt at a young age, because you get fired up trying to call turkeys and everything else. And then I honestly, rifle hunting where I grew up in Kansas, we didn't call very much because you're rifle hunting. You just sit on the edge of the field and you can shoot 250 yards away, so you're not necessarily calling anything, at least my experiences and what we did. But then when I moved here to Ohio, and the first few times I tried it and it worked, it's like, you're hooked. It's just like,
it's fun, right?
Calling elk someday, and turkey hunting and everything else. Like, once you kind of figure out, it's not that you're talking to them, but you just get that reaction. You get that one more tool in your bag to try and pull them in. Oh, it's a blast.
It's so much fun. And I think the adrenaline rushes through you, and it brought back a memory I had. And I think I may have mentioned this before, but I was a kid in high school, just kind of getting bow hunting. I had no money, right? High school kid, didn't have a tree stand, parents didn't hunt. My dad didn't hunt really too much other than gun hunting. So I'm out there and I'm sitting by the base of a tree like every other kid does, and you start learning how to hunt, right? Any person. It was getting dim, starting to get, the light was decreasing, and I'm just messing around, have no idea how to grunt. I rip out like but, and I just must have ticked off this buck right on top of the hill, and the leaves were dry. It sounded like a freight train. Leaves coming down, and it was dark enough I couldn't see him, and he stopped 20 yards away and didn't move. And I'm sitting by this tree, base of a tree, and I'm like, son of a what am I gonna do with this? And I'm like, do I move? Do I try to scare him? He's gonna attack me and kill me. I heard about maulings, I don't know what you call that, mauling with antlers, but whatever, horned to death. I had no idea what to do. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm gonna start singing the Andy Griffith song. So I started whistling the Andy Griffith song. I didn't know what to do just to scare it away. And luckily I kind of moved around the other side of the tree. agree, but then he kind of scurried off. But I have had a couple instances where they got real ticked off real fast. And so what I've learned is like they're, like humans, they're all different. And depending on the day, condition, or how they feel, they might want to tear you up or run away,
Yeah.
Only you would sing the Andy Griffith song to
Well,
get it
let
if
me back
anyone
up.
knows Josh like we do, it's so fitting.
No. Let me back up. There's a reason why. There's always a reason, Paul. The reason why I sung that song is we had a what was it, a cockatiel or something, a little pet bird, and I taught it to sing that on my shoulder until it. Well, that bird. Well, long story. That bird flew into a ceiling fan. So we'll leave that there.
Suicide by fan.
I walked in the sunroom. He's on his back, feet up in the air, desert board. I'm like, oh, there goes Buddy.
There goes. Yep, there goes.
There goes Buddy.
Well, yeah, I mean that's just awesome stuff. It was a great time, awesome time. We'll do it again next year for those of you that want to come. It's a great little hunt. For those of you that want to come, it's a great little hunt. I mean, I said it before, like if you follow the Virginia, wall hangers page or stuff like that, like we have a lot of good deer around here. And I mean, I got good deer on camera that we haven't seen in person yet, and they're here, and you just got to put the time in and be in the right place, or like Troy, be willing to take a chance and dive into some new place and go from there. So definitely on the list again for next year. So Josh, we got to get you out here as well.
Love to, man.
Some time in the tree. Yeah. I know we got I think we're kicking off the year with, when are you going to Africa? June, July?
Well, right now,
potentially
right now we're working on booking a triple point trip with Hunt Tech and Johan and his wife. It'll be a phenomenal trip. It's gonna be all filmed, of course, on one of their episodes, so you can relive it forever. But we're looking at the beginning of July, probably the first couple of weeks of July. We're looking for 8 hunters. Obviously, I am well aware of the economy and inflation and the cost of food. We're all living that right now, so I understand that. And so that may not happen this summer if we can't get 8 spots filled. I'm going to be honest with that. But if we have 8 people that, basically what we're trying to do is the a la carte menus there, the cost is not real high, but then there's, I can't get around plane tickets. You got to fly over there 7,000 miles. So we're looking at how much it costs for everybody and if it's possible. If it's not possible, then I'm looking at maybe doing some other things this summer a little closer, maybe bison, maybe elk, something fun, something interesting. Of course, spring turkey is going to be there. I'm sure Troy and I will be trying to kick some turkey butt and probably get really annoyed. So
I got a vendetta against them dang birds from last year. So
probably hunt them hard for 2 weeks and get annoyed at them.
Ag suit from last year. So
bow only, guys.
Yep.
Prime only with the I got something special for them this year because we've got the new cut plus with a turkey foot tip coming out. And so we've got a 2 1/4 cut going through that body. I thought about doing a turkey neck or broadhead, but in my opinion, they're kind of novelty heads. Guys aren't going to buy a lot of them and they want a really cool slow-mo shot, but that's about all they do. And so I wanted to build something a little bit more universal for our customers. And now we have our Clovis Feral, which is completely universal. So it doesn't matter what mech head you buy, the regular Clovis, the original still with a sharp tip, the helicut tip with a new cut plus, the turkey foot's universal, the blades are all universal, and the ferrul's universal. So we're trying to keep everything modular as a system for our customers. And that way, when you need to, you buy a pack of heads and you want to rebuild them, you can use anything you want and mix and match. It's going to all work out for you.
Even the Carnivora as well, right? So if you wanted to go fixed for some reason and, saying, hey, I'm going here and I just want to drop to fix, then you can just purchase the blades and screw them in.
Right. Yeah, and I purposely we went through a lot of I talked to Paul and Troy and all the guys in the podcast and several other people. We've had the Cut Plus out. I've been using it for almost a year. And so, when we roll this thing out this spring and do a pre-sale, we're not testing it anymore. It's been tested. It's been thrown through 44-inch sable, Impala, African animals, whitetails like Boku. So I would never put a broadhead out there to market that we haven't tested like this and some big animals. So I'm fully confident with it now. There's we're to wait on everything. And what I want to do is give our customers that modularity because obviously, money is important and I'm trying to be as efficient as I can for people. I think that's important because I'm that kind of guy. So I think when you look at the Clovis broadhead, the fact that, it's so durable, on general, you're getting 3, 4, or 5 harvests out of one broadhead. In general, you're looking at, blades untouched. We had no blade breakage all year long with our solid blades that perform very well. And I'm always looking at data when people and customers are giving me feedback, pictures or, kill shots or video, my engineering mind's always looking at what's the broadhead doing, what's it looking like, entrance, exit. That's my job. So the Cut Plus is ready. I'm happy with it. We've got the regular helicut tip, which is the same size as our Clovis helicut tip, and so you're going to get phenomenal penetration, the same penetration with the bigger cut. And we're working hard, but we're going to keep them all the same price. And so what you have is our Cut Plus, our regular Clovis mechanical, the turkey foot, all mechs, same cost across the board. So if you're a guy that wants a bigger cut, buy it. Even though it's a little more steel in the blades, I'm going to try to, have that same retail price. And at the end of the day, you've got a $15 practice head built in with those practice blades that go on any head. And so basically you've got $15 in that as a free practice head, take it off the initial cost, and you're hovering around that $50 to $55 mark on retail for a pack of broadheads. And so I firmly believe now that we are ready to go up against any broadhead in the planet. I'm pretty confident in that.
Just throwing this in there for everyone listening and watching. I've been peddling these broadheads, if you will, talking to everybody I can about them, just because, obviously we promote them through the podcast, we promote them we hunt with them, but at the same time, it's what we use, it's what I use, it's what I recommend guys use, because if they're going to spend their money on it, I don't want to recommend somebody spend money on anything that they're going to come back and just think I ripped them off,
Right.
Yep. And a huge thing that I know you just said it with the modular, everything working together, but to put it in perspective, a good friend of mine, he bought a pack of 3, comes with the practice blades. So 2 kids, both shoot crossbows. So he can put those tips, and he did this year, hunted with them out of the crossbows. Take those same 3, go shoot a deer in a crossbow, wash them off, put them on his arrows. He hunts with them, or his wife hunts with them. Both 100 grain tips. Okay, that's fine. So now the kids have both hunted with the same broadheads. His wife's hunted with the same broadheads. Well, he likes shooting 125s. So with your 100 grain ferrules, he puts his little 25 grain collar on, and he hunts with them. So out of that one pack, he hunted all year, harvested multiple animals, still has his practice head, shot it out of different weapons, different setups, and no, not a single issue, nothing but smiles, and he literally bought 1 pack.
Yep.
So, and I don't
Well,
know.
I'll tell you, it means a lot. I'll tell you
what.
what, that means a lot to me, guys. I just want to, let you know from a human perspective, the 16 years I put into development and the engineering and design of this broadhead, I put a lot of thought into it, 16 years worth, and it's been back and forth. I can tell you a lot of things changed in this broadhead, but I always wanted to make it the best I could for people. Is there a perfect broadhead in the world? My answer is no. There's not a perfect broadhead in the world, but I believe from my design, the Clovis, and what we're doing, it's as darn near what you need for any animal you're hunting on the planet as possible. And so that's my promise to people with the broadhead now is, and I'm completely confident in this, you're going to get 0 pre-deployment. It's going to fly perfectly. It's going to hit like a laser, fly like a laser, huge energy in deployment, huge explosion, cut through, helical cut going through, huge surface, area tissue cut. I can't think of anything it doesn't do well, honestly. It's something that I know I'm the owner, I'm the designer, but like I'm looking at from an objective physics standpoint, I can't see anything it doesnning do well. And that was the idea of designing the broadhead, make it perform for people.
Yeah, and I say it all. I mean, I sell them in the shop, and I only sell in my shop what I believe in 100%. And these broadheads, I tell everyone, like, you go and you buy a pack of, hey, we use part of their brands, but whatever, G5, Rage, Schwacker, all these other ones, they're one and done heads. Like, their tips are going to blade. Like, look at any picture out there on the internet. There's no one holding up a broadhead, and they're like, yep, ready to go for the next one. Like, no, they're trashed. Or you're buying new blades. Like, maybe your ferrule and your tip's good. You're buying a new collar, a new rubber band, a new tip, new blades, new whatever. Like, I have a broadhead that I've shot through 4 deer and a bull elk with, and it's still ready to roll. Like, and I have it on display in my shop, and I tell everyone about it, and I have the pictures to prove it. Like, it's legitimately the best there is. And you know what? If you don't like it, I mean, I know Josh has the sharpening. You can send them back to Triple Point and they'll sharpen them for you. And I know in my shop, I tell everyone, if you have an issue, you have a problem, something breaks, or you don't like it, bring it back. I'll fix it for you, or I'll give you a new one.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how much I stand behind the product.
I'm in this, just to let everyone know out there, I'm in this because I love bow hunting. I'm not in this to sell a product. I will demonstrate and, I will promote the product our company has, of course, but I'm going to tell you straight up what it's going to do, and it's going to do that. And I think the problem we have in the world today is there are so many companies that are pushing to sell through marketing and flash and, packaging, and I just don't care about any of that. Obviously, we have to have packaging, we have to retail, yada, yada. I'll do the business end. But from my standpoint as a bow hunter, like, I want the people to buy it because you like to use it. If you don't like to use it, you don't like the Clovis, please use a broadhead you do. You know, that's that because to me as a hunter, my biggest thing is I want you as a hunter to feel so secure in that Clovis broadhead, you know it's doing its job. And if you feel that way with another broadhead, then by all means, please use that because you'll feel better. You're gonna feel like a more confident hunter, and it doesn't bother me at all. And that way, you're gonna get your game, you're gonna enjoy the bow hunt. But I feel like there's too much of this in the industry in general in the world too. But there's too much of this combative back and forth, like mine's better than yours, and this is the best. No, nothing's the best. Things can all work effectively. Shot placement is critical. And I think Paul, you said it to me earlier this week. Like, who cares about what size of cut? Who cares about the blades have to stay strong, but who cares about how much venting it has on it stays strong? The shot placement is the key for any animal. So if you can't take that broadhead and hit that animal where you need to hit it, you might as well forget that broadhead. And that's one thing I can tell you with the Clovis, it's going to hit with 100% certainty every time right where you want it to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And then for some of you that don't know or haven't ventured through the website, throughout these 25 podcasts and almost a year we've been doing this, is you can buy different blades or replacement tips or replacement blades directly from Triple Point Outdoors. So if you buy the regular Clovis, the pointy tip, regular, Clovis 100 grain, and all of a sudden you want to try the Cut Plus blades, you don't want to buy all new blades, you could just buy the blades.
Yes, you can
buy the replacement blades and you just screw them on. If you're like, I want to go turkey hunting, you want to buy new blades, just buy the turkey tips and screw them on. And for the odd chance that your tip bends or the blade chips or whatever, just buy a blade and screw it on. The rest of the broadhead's still good. So
yeah, I've never seen and it's not because it's our helicut tip, guys, but I'm telling you, I've studied broadheads endlessly, right? I have not seen a tip as strong as our helicut tip. I would challenge anybody. It is flipping strong. It's sharp, but it's strong as all get out, and it's got that chisel tip on the edge of it. And I'm super glad I came out with that because it just does a lot of magic going through animals.
Yeah. Listen, my son drove that thing, no joke, we counted it 75 times into the ground chasing rabbits at the farm in New York, and finally got one on the 76th try. And the only thing that happened is one of the threads of the screw of one of the on the tip that holds the tip on, just kind of like it just sits there and spins now. Like I can't get it out or I can't get it in. So it wobbles a little bit. So obviously he's just going to use that for driving it in the ground 80 more times after something. So but, I mean, that's it. It's still sharp. And literally he wasn't picking where he was shooting. It was going into everything.
There's a big misconception in the industry and in bow hunters in general. And I've had people ask me this and they challenge me. And I'm glad they do. They'll say, Josh, I want those cutting blades double bevel, not single. I don't want rotation. I want double bevel. I want them surgical, so thin and sharp they're going to cut through, tissue paper.
It's going to close back up.
Yeah, I'm like, no, you don't. You're gonna roll your edges. First contact of bone, you're rolling the edges. It's trashed. And I'm like, you got to ride that moderation of you want sharp edge, but you want strong edge. And so what I think people need to understand is you got to find that moderate, that butter, that sharp but strong. And I feel like after playing with thousands of angles and thousands of designs, I think we found something I like. And that's something that I want people to know. This is not a one-off. Hey, let's do this one time and see if it works. I've spent thousands upon thousands of hours studying this stuff, and it will never stop either because we want to make it better. Yeah. So we're always going to continue working.
And look at it this way, right? So I love Havalon knives. I use them. I have their Gymsharkis here. I have like 5 of them. My dad loves them. He sends them to me. Like I love using them. They're surgical steel. They're scalpels. Like you go online to Amazon or to Havalon and you buy replacement blades. They're literally 7A scalpel blades. That's what you get. They're sharp as anything. But the minute you touch bone, cartilage or hair, it's dull as a rock.
Dulls it,
like you're done. You're complete. You just take it off and start over again because it's so razor sharp through flesh. But what are you going through ahead of time? So you're going through hair before you go through any skin or flesh, right? And then you want to keep going. So by the time you even enter, you're dull.
Right.
So or you're rolled.
Ribs
so,
or shoulder blades.
Yeah. So it's I'm not here trying to sell Triple Point and Josh. Like Josh is on the podcast. He's part of it. We love it. We use their broadheads. We're trying to just prove a point to everyone. Like, you know what? Great. If you love a solid fixed blade broadhead and you want to sit there and sharpen it on leather and stone before you go, like, great. Like this broadhead's called the Clovis for a reason. The original point found in the US was Clovis. Like go do the history, go look back at it. It's called that for a reason. So it's been around forever, but we shoot it. We love it, and we've had 0 problems with it. I mean, we've shot this year. The Clovis as a whole has probably shot 200 animals, maybe more.
I wish I could add it up. Someday I need to go through we have the back history. We have a Google Drive file called Clovis Fan. And by the year, we pump every year's content in there. And we're just like, we've been through 3,000 or 4,000 ferals by now. I can't remember the total number that, ferals we've sold up to this point in time. But, but you're getting one feral, maybe killing potentially 3 to 4 animals. So we've got thousands upon thousands of animals in the ground.
And not one problem.
And not one issue. The only thing you can do do is if your magnet, because it's self-centered, the press fit, if your magnet on impact ever slides left or right, you literally just take a pair of pliers or tweezers and just squeeze and recenter it. You're done. The
And
magnet.
I actually did that shooting at a
Yeah.
groundhog again, like we talked about. Best thing I have issues with, which I would never do with any other broadhead because it would just trash it.
Trash it. Yeah.
But yeah, I took like a 50-yard shot at a broadhead, broadhead at a groundhog, barely missed him to the left, and it went skipping off some rocks and out in the grass, and I went and found the arrow.
Yep.
And only issue, there was no issues at all with the blades, no issues with the tips. The only issue was that it hit just right and pushed that magnet over a little bit. And just like you said, I just took a red rag, and put it around it, and I actually just pushed, put a rag on, protect my hands and everything, obviously, but just pushed it against a wood table, and it centered the magnet just fine.
They'll self-center. The Cut Plus does the same thing. And so, and even I had a guy where he wanted a magnet replaced because I think it popped out actually. And so I just replaced it, just pushed a new one in for him. So if you have any ferrules out there that we've had, I think one happen to, if you have a magnet that ever comes out or whatever, just send it back. I'll put a new one in for you. It's no big deal. I mean, everything's universally replaceable. Because of the press fit tolerance, if our Swiss machine holds that hole to some proprietary dimensions, and our magnets have about 2 thou tolerance. So you'll get every once in a while one magnet more slippery, if you will, slides in a little easier than the other. But if you have that happen, just recenter it and the broadhead's good to go. So
we're your everyday hunter. We're your hunter that, just goes out and shoots whitetail and does and groundhogs and rabbits and all that. But we also spend some big money on some of our hunts. Like anything on this podcast, nothing's given to us except for Josh is gracious enough to share his broadheads with us. And, we do some stuff through my shop for everyone. But, we use our hard-earned money on everything. And if I'm going on a $10,000 elk hunt, and I'm 60 yards from a bull elk that I'm going to put on the wall potentially, there's only one thing I want on the front of it, and that's it. Like
I appreciate that.
Spend all the time you want on your bow, on your arrow. There's only one thing that kills that animal, and the second thing besides that would be that 25-cent little insert that holds that broadhead to that arrow. I mean, I'd put a little bit more money into that thing as well. But I mean, we don't need to beat a dead horse here about the product, but this is a celebration cast. This is a thank you cast for this year and the podcast, and we wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for Josh and his product, and his wife Emily and their support. So thank you, Josh.
I'll tell you, in my perspective, it's an awful hard industry to go alone at. It's a hard industry to be an individual and not be part of a team that's bigger than yourself. And I appreciate, if anything, the opportunity to be part of this, because the Bowman's been awesome. It's changed my life. It's changed my hunting. I've met some amazing people in the industry. I am blown away at how many people receive us well and receive the product well. And then, like you said, Paul, at the end of the day, my heart is, because I've spent that money. When you see me go on these hunts here this past year, that's our money, our family's money that we're putting into this to promote the product and get out there and do hunting. But to me, like you said, if a guy or a gal is spending $10,000 and $4,000 on airplane tickets, I want to make sure that on the end of that arrow, I'm giving that person, it's a safety issue too. I was hunting black bear in Newfoundland there, and I'm on a old wooden stand 3 feet in the air, and that 400-pound black bear could maul me in 3 seconds. So I want to make sure that broadhead is going to do its job, and that hunter is going to be safe and take down that game effectively. Because at the end of the day, we're talking about a life at stake here. Really, in some situations.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, check it out if you haven't done it already. Triple Point Outdoors. You can check us on all social platforms. Josh is out there constantly with all his posts and everything. I don't think anyone's more socially active than Triple Point Outdoors.
Listen, I apologize. No, to the universe of the hunting industry, I'm going to apologize because I get bored. So like, if I'm I'm a dad, right? So if I'm sitting around and it's
sleeps.
I don't most of the time. Well, I'll be up at like 3 a.m. talking to people in Africa. My wife's yelling at me to go to bed. I'm like, I have to, But it's been beyond the broadhead and anything. Just hunting with you guys, like I have had the year of my life. It's been, and I'll be honest here with everybody, it's been a really hard year personally with losing my grandparents and people in my family and generations getting older. It's really difficult. I had not been through that grieving process with losing people that close to you. So it's been really tough. But I'll tell you what, my grandmother knew I shot my first black bear before she passed away. My grandpa Miller, before he passed away a couple weeks ago, got to see the magazine article of my Africa trip, and just, it's not about me. It's not about the broadhead or this podcast. And I just want everybody to know that from my perspective, this is about the love of the hunting. And I hope that shows through what we do, because man, we love it. And I love it. And it's a dream. It's a dream to be with you guys. And the friends I made with you, Troy's at my house all the time. We're eating food. Like, I know his family, just there's a greater, bigger thing here than the broadhead and the podcast. And that is a camaraderie of what we established. So thank you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's the hardest part to share. And we all talk about it, and we try to, try to convey the feeling. But even just that
You can't.
I got down to the tree in the middle of the day and moved, and it was like I was 20 again, looking for a spot. I'm like, okay, I think this is gonna be good. Where would my dad tell me to sit? I'm looking around the woods, or where would Paul sit if he was down here? Oh, I think this is, and it's everything, every hunt, you relive all your memories. You sit there in the tree and you think about everything, and then, like we said, it comes down to those few seconds, and nothing else in the world is happening in those few seconds. And that's the magic behind it. So
yeah. And for the record, when we got there, I said that would be the exact tree I would put you in.
Yeah.
That's
Those
crazy.
are my exact words. He's like, I was sitting
That's
there.
crazy.
Like, that is the exact place I would have put
Well, don't you guys feel like through our podcast, like the people listening right now to this, and they'll listen next week or so when this comes out, but like, don't you feel like we're able, like through this, we're able to connect with those people, and like it's one of those, like, if type things. We don't have to talk about it too much because they know the love we have of hunting. They know that experience. They know what's sitting in that tree, thinking about your family and your future and your planning, and all these things about life you're sitting there thinking about. And like, we're real guys, and that's what we're doing. And so I hope that conveys, and I think it does, because even like my wife's buck this year, I had a hard year. Like, it was a rough whitetail year for me. Like, I put a ton of work in.
He shot a giant.
I had an opportunity, and I got busted. But then at the end of the day, I hunted that big, triple drop or whatever he was for a month because we never knew he existed, and all of a sudden everybody else knew he existed. I didn't, and because I never used trail cams. The last big buck I shot on that property, Troy, I didn't even know that thing existed. It just happened, and that was probably the most fun thing. But this buck we knew for a while, and I hunted him hard, and never got a shot. And my wife got a huge opportunity that day where he walked out, and it was just super cool. It was a super cool experience. So while I didn't get a big deer this year, I got to shoot a really respectful deer, had a good hunt with him, and beyond anything, it's just been awesome along the ride with you guys.
Yeah, and we've talked about it, building from the Romano Outdoors, supporting the Bowmen podcast, obviously, and then Triple Point Outdoors, and then we're building relationships with other companies, like-minded individuals that just want to get out and hunt and have a good time and promote things in the right way. I know we've mentioned them once, but Buzzard Roost Saddles, they've been a part of this and are going to continue, hopefully, to grow with us. And then we're obviously looking to grow next year and promote the products that we use and keep growing professionally. And anybody listening, if there's stories you like, stories you didn't like from this year, issues, comments, questions, concerns, hit us up. Hit us up at the Bowman Podcast on Instagram, or reach out to any of our own personal pages. But we're here. We're here to listen, here to grow, and it's been a crazy beginning.
Well, just Paul and I, like Paul, remember, like the Newfoundland trip, it seems like it never happened now, really. But you invited me on that, and I didn't know what to expect, and that had its own like cascade of fiasco of craziness, and I loved every minute of it. It was a phenomenal adventure.
I got the call today that my 8 boxes and 500 pounds of moose meat is in Allentown. I have to go pick it up, so I have to schedule my appointment. So it became real again today.
Allentown, PA.
Yeah.
I'll beat you there. I'm gonna beat you there in the morning and pick it up for you.
Yeah. I'll give you the phone number. Go get it.
I'm Paul Romano.
But no, it's been pretty exciting, and Troy nailed it. Like, we're gonna expand next year. Obviously, we're looking for more people to join the cast and come on this fun ride with us, whether it's a product or a person or an individual. And just continue this wild ride. I mean, we're not going to stop, whether it's someone's here or not, or, we shoot prime or we shoot something else, or, we use this arrow or that arrow. Like, it doesn't matter to us as long as we get to do what we do. And, this is what we do here is we just all agree on what we want to do and we move forward. I know Cedric's not here and he's on the same page with all that. So, hopefully I can speak for him in saying that. But, we got a lot of good things coming down the pipe. I mean, a lot of our podcasts, I was speaking to our editor. So like in this cast, for instance, hopefully by the time it comes out, we'll be able to do this. But like when Troy is talking about his rattling sequence, there's going to be a box that pops up showing him actually rattling in the woods from his video and what it looked like and what he was doing. Or when he first saw that buck, you're going to see a picture and video of that buck pop up. So not only are you just seeing us, my fat face on TV, or YouTube or whatever, talking about it, you can see what we're actually doing. So we're going to try to work on more of that interactive stuff. A lot of people aren't doing that on podcasts right now, so that's already in the works, so that we can try to integrate the video into it. And if we're talking about Buzzard Roost Saddles, there'll be a video of Troy hanging his butt from a saddle out there swinging back and forth, or Triple Point Outdoors, we've done it in the past where you see the broadhead in the corner spinning around and showing that. So a lot more interactive coming on, which I think is going to be exciting for next year. And also we agreed on doing some more video. So our Hunt Tech Pro graciously edited Josh and I's moose video out there, and we got almost 10,000 views on it right now on YouTube. So it's just fantastic. Never have I had a video out there go that high that fast. So thank you all for watching that and liking it. And I mean, they took some mediocre footage and made us look like pros. So great job there. So we've committed to do more of that this year and see what we can get going out there from the Bowmen under that umbrella on our YouTube channel. So keep looking out there and subscribe to it so you can see more of that. And then after that, sky's the limit. We'll just kind of see how it rolls from there. We'll continue to bring you good guests and new guests. And I know we have a bunch of return guests that want to come on, continue talking about what we do preseason, postseason, during the season. And then we'll just, be us. That's what we've committed to during this. And, it's worked so far. So thank you all out there for that. Definitely beyond grateful for all of that. So, hopefully we'll upgrade some of our equipment here next year as well. We'll send some new lighting and some new speakers and stuff out to the boys so that we can get, a little better audio and video footage for you all. But you got to start somewhere, right? And I don't know if we said it earlier, we were talking about it before the cast, but I just got the online statistics, and we are in the top 50 percentile of outdoor podcasts out there right now. So
nice job, guys.
I'm sure there's probably 10,000 of them, and we're like 5,999, but we're not one, we're not two, we're not last. We're in the top 50th percentile. So
thank my mom and all her friends.
Thank you, Troy's mom.
Yeah. So we surprisingly, I thought Ohio and the towns in Ohio were going to be the number 1 downloaded area because obviously you guys, but it's actually my hometown of Culpeper.
No way, really?
That knocked out the most downloads. Ohio is number 2, and then overseas, South Africa, Germany, and stuff like that. So I see South Africa and where that's
from.
But,
well, thank all you guys in South Africa. You guys rock it out.
Yeah,
go
absolutely.
on, Andres.
Yeah, I see he's having a baby.
Yeah, they're having
little Bam.
Yeah,
little Bam's coming.
Little Bam.
Congratulations to Andreas Bam and his wife out there on their pregnancy, and good luck out there. We haven't said it enough, but to Johan and his beautiful wife, congratulations and thank you for everything that you guys have done for us and part of this team, and just everyone that has come on. I mean, we've had Prime on, we've had Dave Knoll, we've had Blade Rain Andy, we've had T-Bone Travis on, we've had Amy's Animal Art Taxidermy, one of the best female taxidermists on, we've had A3 Archery, we had Reagan Bryan, we had some just huge names on this show. Noel Evans, Final Descent, Dark Owl Archery was a great one.
A3 Strings.
Yep, A3. So hopefully we'll have more coming to you and some other names out there. But for us, it's not about the big names and getting the big names on here. Like, no offense to those that are big names that have come on, like, so what? But it's interesting to be able to speak to these individuals. Is, I say it all the time and everyone gets mad at me. Like, I consider myself a nobody. Like, I'm just a nobody. Like, I own an archery shop. I love hunting and this is what I do. And, to be able to have some of these names out there and these individuals of status come on and want to be a part and talk hunting with us and what we love, like, that to me is a win. Like, I don't care about the likes, I don't care about the follows, I don't care about any of that. It's to be able to have that experience, to be like, I could tell, my son growing up, like, I sat there for an hour and spoke to Travis T-Bone Turner, my idol, about hunting. Like, how many people can say they did that? So it's pretty cool, and forever grateful for that experience. So hopefully this season coming up in 2024, we'll have season 2 of the Bowmen. We are luckily not contracted to do anything, so we can do 1 podcast, we can do 100 podcasts. I've kind of in my mind committed to at least 40 podcasts for next year. We did 25, this is our 25th in half a year, so we should be able to do about 40. I'd like to get 8 full-length videos done next year on YouTube, and plus all our little social clips and all that we're going to do. We're up to almost 8,000 followers on the Bowman Podcast Instagram right now in a 5-month growth period. So thank you, and absolutely amazing to all of you out there following us and liking us. Our engagement is up there, up 70%, which we love to see. So keep going there. And then obviously through my page and my shop, Romano Outdoors, we're always doing giveaways and promotions as much as we can do. I know Troy with Greenlight and Josh with Triple Point, we're all trying to do what we can to give back. So, but yeah, it's been a great year, and I don't really know what else to say, but thank you all. Hope you guys have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I know I'll be chatting with you all before that comes, but everyone out there listening, hope you have a safe and happy Merry Christmas, and safe and profitable New Year, and we'll catch you in 2024. Any last parting words?
No,
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Continue doing what you're doing and reach out to us. We're always available. We're always we always answer our socials and everything. So thank you very much.
Yep. I just want to thank everybody as well from my end, from the Triple Point standpoint and the Bowmen. Thank you all for using the product. Thank you all for having a great time hunting and just for following us. It's been awesome.
And thank you all, obviously, from the Bowmen and my shop, Romano Outdoors. Stop going to Cabela's and all those other places and come shop local. We give you better customer service. You get a better product, right? And you don't get crappy bows like you get at all those places. So write them off and come shop local to us. No, I'm joking. And I do want to preface just follow up on what Troy said. Like, our biggest pet peeve between the three of us are people that don't respond. So like name all those big names or anybody out there. Like, you say, hey man, love your shit. Awesome. Like, you're going to at least get a thumbs up or a thank you or hell yeah or something from one of us. Like, that is a guarantee. And if we don't, like,
call me out.
Call us out.
Yeah.
Call me out.
That is not going to be acceptable. Like,
hey, everybody knows me for about 5 minutes. My patience is only about 5 minutes. And that, for whatever reason, I'm like, I'm human. I'm a dude just like you. It takes, not even half a second to hit a thumbs up on me. Give me some feedback.
It's like those people, for those of you that have iPhone, I know Josh might not know this, but like when they have the read receipts on, right? And you send a message and they read it and you're like, like do something, man. Like,
Instagram does it, but one of the platforms says, sent or received or what, and so you can tell that they've read it or they've seen it. It's like, come on, just be human. We're all human. We're all
right. I will say the only time I don't respond, and you guys know me by now, the only time I won't respond to somebody if I just don't see it. So sometimes someone will be like 2 weeks later, hey Josh, did you ever see? I'm like, no, I didn't even see it. So show it to me, send it to me. If I don't respond, and kick me, I'll get back.
Yeah, follow up. We'll follow up with you and we'll get back to you. But no matter how big we get, or if we don't get big at all, that's going to be our guarantee. We're going to get back. I don't care if I hope one day I get the luxury of sitting there and going through 10,000 thumbs up and responses. And I guarantee you, maybe I won't at that point, hopefully, but somebody will pay somebody to respond to every one of those messages. You know what? Even if you're reaching out asking for shit, we will happily say no, or what do you have to offer, instead of, or we'll come up with a quirky response. We won't just ghost you. I hate that. So all you companies out there that, when people, I know that there's so many people asking for free stuff and whatnot, but you know what? Like, there's a person on the end of that, and maybe your sales would do a little bit better if you're a little bit personable yourself. So hey, it's my platform. I'm allowed to say it, from God's heart to your mouth, or however that saying goes. I don't know. I'm not anyway, but whatever that saying is, that use that one and insert it here. But all right, well, my dogs are barking. My wife is coming home. My kids are asleep, and now they're not asleep. So I got to go rally the dogs. And from the Bowmen, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And I'll catch you all on the flip side. Season 2, 2024, coming at you soon. Peace out, everybody.